We are talking Road to 50 Million, and today I want to focus on your story. I want to focus on you. I just had a really neat opportunity this morning to have an interview with someone on the podcast and to learn about this individual's story. Is from the East, New York, New Jersey area, and I loved the sound of that particular style of language. It was fun to talk to, but more importantly, it was about his story. I learned about his story. And there's so many similarities between his story, my story, your story. Here's the basic truth. Basic truth is you are created by a divine being. You have divine gifts and talents, and you're using them or not, or you're using them a little or not. You're developing them fully or not, right? And you're happy with your life or not. And we live in a world of turmoil. I was just looking up the news of the Ukrainian war just before this. I started doing this, and the reason that I looked that up is because my wife, her maiden name is Bondarenko, and she is Ukrainian. Her dad was born in Odessa, and so from the beginning, that conflict has been front and center for us. We have the blessing of having a family here with us, and we get to live their, concerns and worries and everything day by day. And that's part of their story. So that if those events will fashion a chapter in their lives, and perhaps those kinds of events can be pivot points. They can be threshold events that completely change events, or pivot points, or call them what you want, but big things that happen. And what they do to us is our choice. And so this is what I want to talk about today, and that's about your story. Where where are you in your quest for happiness? Are you happy every day? Do you get up excited every day? I want you to answer that honestly, unless you don't want to. But I'm inviting you to consider this as a possibility. You have the opportunity to be happy today. You have the opportunity to be happy every single day of your life. Happiness is something that is inside, and it's not determined by what happens to us or around us. One of the points that the guest I just interviewed made, and the episodes I'm interviewing now or recording now will be out at the end of January-ish. But one of the points that he made is, of course, does life happen to you or for you? And he made the point that if life happens to you, it's a victim sort of thing. I'm the victim of all this stuff and bad luck, bad, circumstance. He told a story about this, whole tennis club and thing that he was building, and it was all ready to do it in 2008, of course. And in the summer of 2008, he finally got all the approvals and was ready to go get the building moving. And of course, that was right before the crash. And so he couldn't get financing, and he lost everything and had to start all over again. And that story is repeated 1,000 times. Maybe it happened to you. Maybe it happened to someone you know. And that was 16 years ago, 14 years ago, sorry. And of course, since then, he's built a completely different life. But at the time, what happened was he was feeling like it happened to him, and it knocked him down for a year, I think he said, with depression and struggle, and I don't know what to do and everything else. So that was a story that I heard. And the good part is, what did he do next and next and next? I don't know where you are in your story, but here's what I know. No matter where you are, if you're at the pinnacle of success and happiness, or if you're in the deepest valley of struggle, depression, being beat down and having things seem to work against you, your story isn't the event. Your story is what you do with the event. So the story of you, plug in your name there. The story of you is what you do, what you make with the clay of those events. The events are fixed. Our reaction, our choice is malleable. I want to know your story. because you're either living as a victor, a person who's in control. It doesn't matter what happens around you. You're going to take the clay of those things that happen around you, and you're going to turn it into something good because you can, because you said so, because it's in your power and your heart and your ability to do that. And I didn't know that for decades. I lived reaction in a reactionary mode, navigating my way from one difficulty to another, and then, with periodic successes also, and not understanding that happiness, pure joy, the ability to have fun and to love my life was in my hands every day. That revelation was staggering to me, and it was to this guest. And so today's road to 50 million is about your story. So I'm asking you to consider your story. Are you happy today? Why are you happy today? Is anything about that happiness connected to something that happened around you? Or are you happy just because you said you are, because you choose to be? There's lots of ways that people teach or help us understand how to do that. One of them is gratitude. This individual talked about gratitude journals and things to write down, to remember that we're grateful, that we're alive, that we get to breathe, that we get to do something, that we have some degree of autonomy. The degree of autonomy, freedom externally that we have depends on where we live. Right now in war-torn areas, specifically in Europe, there's a lot of lack of autonomy. Here in the Western Europe and in Canada and the US and some other countries, there's a lot of autonomy. And sometimes we just take that external autonomy for granted. And then we focus on the limits to that autonomy. I don't have enough money to do this. I don't have enough time to do that. And the truth is, you have all the time there is. What? Yeah, you have all the time there is. Every day of mine and yours and everybody's is the same 86,400 seconds, right? The same 10,000 moments. I decided because there's 86,400 seconds in a day and there's 10,000 moments that a moment should be 8.64 seconds. Arbitrary as heck, but it's kind of fun because 8.64 seconds, 8 2/3 seconds, that's long enough to be something. It's like, it's not like that. And it's short enough to be a real moment. It's enough to sink my teeth into. What am I doing this moment? Well, this moment, this 8.64 seconds, I'm loving you. I'm encouraging you to be a victor, to take control of your story, which is what today's is about. Now, my goal, it's not a goal, it's a commitment. I will, in this year, and my year started October 14th, so that's, 6 weeks now, 7 weeks. I'm in the 7th week of my year, and my commitment is to reach 50 million people and encourage and help you to discover your gifts and to serve with them, to take more control. Now, I don't know if anyone ever gets complete control of absolutely everything, right? That would imply some degree of perfection. And you know what? I think it's one of the biggest, if not the biggest, reason for our experience here. Like, we weren't put here to have a cruise, everything on cruise control. We were put here to have all these experiences, tough ones and good ones, to see what we would make of them, not as an experiment. Oh, look what they made, but because it makes something out of us. I don't know if you notice that, but when I choose to take control of a circumstance around me, my own feelings, my own heart, and choose to make something out of it, I'm a different person than when I'm a victim. When I complain, when I lay down and I'm beat down. When I'm beat down, I show up differently. I create differently. I talk differently. I love differently. I help differently. I coach differently. And so as a coach, I'm committed to be all in for clients. And so that means I need to prepare myself every day so that I am in control of my feelings and my attitude and how I show up. And my commitment to help 50 million people, you included, is to take control of your story. Because remember, the story isn't what happened. Oh, these things happened. The story, your story, is what you did with them. Because the economic crash or sickness or divorce or health challenges or financial, you know, struggles or losing a job. I mean, those are events. They happen to everybody. The story, your individual story, is what you do with them. And people say, you know, everybody's unique, and you are. Not because the events that happen to you are unique. They happen to a lot of people. What you do with them is yours. And it makes you and me who we are. Wow. And so my whole purpose here is to remind us again and again and again, every single day, of your ability to control, to write your story. Your story is in your hands. Now, there may be hallmarks and influences from these events, but those events are the things that happen that let you and me write interesting chapters in our story. So this guy had this complete crash and lost every single thing, his house and cars, and said, you know, what a feeling it was to have his kids, his 4 kids, his kids watching his cars get towed away down the street as they were repossessed. The story isn't the event. The story that he writes with his own pen from his own heart is what he did then. And your story, you write your story. I write my story. And my work as a coach is to help you write the most empowering, impactful, building, glorious, wonderful story you possibly can. My dad had a saying. I don't know if it was a saying. I heard him say it once, but it was strong enough when I heard it that it became a saying for me. You know, when stuff happens, we can feel like, oh, I'm going to struggle through, or I can't wait till this is over, or I'm going to hang on and get through it. I'm going to get through today. The thing that he said is, well, let's get through this in grand style. And I love that. And I'd never heard him say it a different time. But the one time I heard him say that, that just drilled into my brain like fire. And I thought, I'm going to live every minute, every hour of my life in grand style, no matter what's going on around me. So the thing I want you to take away from this today is that your story is yours to write. I don't care what happens. The happenings are the chapter headings. What's in them is how you use that event to craft power and meaning and development and refinement in your soul. And the same for me. So all the stuff that's happened to me, some of it was my own making and some not, those are the crucible fires in which you and we write the story of the becoming of our souls. Now, my road to 50 million is just a daily conversation about this very topic. It's my daily report to you about how my 50 million is going. Well, I recorded episode 736 on my podcast today. I'm working on 8 commercials that will be part of the television show that I have coming out called Creative Save the World. And I've had 9 interviews with powerful people that will be in those episodes. And then I'm going to start, and that's season 1, Creatives Save the World. And then I'm going to create season 2. And all of it is you, your story about discovering and using your gifts to serve. That's all we're here to do. You know, the amount of money we accumulate and the people we meet, the relationships we have matter, the good we do in the world matters, and the story we write from our hearts with the pen in our hands is all that we take with us. And a story of victimhood, blaming, excuses, and negativity, well, that, you know, those aren't very interesting. Anyone, you, me, any of us at any moment, we can give up, quit, lay down. But I'm dead. I'm over. I'm finished. That isn't very interesting. Unless the next chapter is, and I regained consciousness and stood up and began to write the story again. That's a story worth reading. Your story is in your hands. My road to 50 million is just my discussion about my efforts to reach 50 million people, to help them write the story they want, discover their gifts, serve with their gifts, grab that pen and write a story of empowerment, growth, service, and love. If you're living that ultimate life of purpose, prosperity, and joy, I'd love to talk to you. I love to know more people, to increase the number of people that I know that are living like that. Please reach out. Let's talk. I have no agenda. I just want to get acquainted. The second invitation I have is if you are struggling, if your story, if it sucks, I don't like my story. I don't like what I'm doing. I don't like that I'm procrastinating or I'm living in fear or I'm failing over and over again. And, all those things, I'd love to help you because that's part of my commitment to help 50 million people write the story they want, craft the story of their lives that matters to them. And the third invitation is if you can help me reach more people. If there's something that you're doing where we could collaborate or create some larger effect where we can together help more people to take control of their story, to write that story of power from their own hearts, then I'd love to talk to you for that reason too. Thank you for being part of this road to 50 million. Thank you for every piece of good that you add to the world. I give you all my love and encouragement. We'll see you tomorrow.